There are two modes in which every business owner operates. One builds authority, one quietly destroys it. Most people never notice they switched. I spend a lot of time around people building things, brand owners, music executives, different industry, different levels. And the one thing that shows up every single time, across every single person, isn't a strategy problem. It's not a clarity problem, it's this. They are a completely different person when the room arrives than they were alone with the decision. And I don't just mean them, I mean you. When nobody is watching, before the meeting, before the call, before the message goes out, you're clear. The decision is already there, simple, settled, and ready. Then someone enters the equation, and without announcing it, everything changes. Not the decision, something underneath it. Your chest tightens slightly, your attention moves outward, towards faces, towards energy, towards who's about to react, and you switch modes from deciding to managing. That switch, that one that happens in the second before you speak, is what this video is about, because it's been happening longer than you noticed, in more places than you have tracked, and it's costing more than the numbers show. Once you see exactly where it happens, you won't be able to unsee it. Before we look at where this shows up, we need to understand what actually is happening, because most people look at this pattern and call it hesitation, or overthinking, or a lack of confidence. But that's not it. Those explanations feel right, but they are too simple. And simple explanation usually points you to the wrong direction. This isn't a confidence problem. If it's were, you wouldn't be clear before the moment arrives. Here's what's actually happening. You have two modes. The first mode is deciding. This is where you live when nobody is watching. Alone, quiet, no external pressure. The decision arrives cleanly. You don't negotiate with it, it's just there. The second mode is managing. This is where you go the moment someone enters the equation, and it doesn't matter who, a client, a team member, or maybe a partner. The moment their presence becomes real, something shifts underneath the decision, and you switch from deciding to manage. Now, here's the part that makes this hard to catch. That switch doesn't feel like weakness. It doesn't feel like avoidance. It doesn't announce itself at all. It feels like good leadership. The thought sounds like this. Let me make sure this lands right. I don't want to close this down too fast. Let me leave a little room here. That sounds responsible. That sounds intelligent. Until you notice something. Those thoughts only show up when someone is watching. Alone earlier, you didn't have them. The decision was very simple. The gap between who you are alone with the decision and who you become when the room arrives, that's where the pattern lives. Now, here's the mechanism underneath it. Your system isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you from one specific thing. It's not conflict. It's not failure. Not even about being wrong. But from the moment after something is said and the room goes quiet, that silence, even the anticipation of it, is what your system is trying to avoid. So before you speak, it resolves it, rounds the edge, adds the qualifier, softens the delivery, and the silence never comes. But neither does the decision. That's the trade. You avoid discomfort, but you lose finality. Here's what makes this expensive. The pressure doesn't need to be real. It only needs to be imagined. You start adjusting before anything happens, before anyone reacts, before a single word is spoken. You arrive softer than the moment requires. And before you speak, the original version starts to feel too sharp, too direct, too much. Even though an hour ago, it felt exactly right. That's the switch, not hesitation, not overthinking, not a confidence problem. A mechanism that runs underneath the decision. The moment someone enters the equation that moves you from deciding to managing a reaction that hasn't happened yet, now you know what it is. Remember those two modes, deciding and managing. Let me show you exactly where the switch happens. Not in theory, the moments you have already lived. And you have lived at least one of these this week. The first place, the price conversation. You set the number before the call started. It was right. And the call starts. You say the number and they pause. 2 seconds and your system reacts not to what they said, to what they didn't say. So you adjust before they do. And now the number that was right is already in negotiation. The second place it shows up is during hiring. You knew earlier, clear read, wrong fits, but you delayed, not because clarity changed, because holding it felt uncomfortable. And now it's heavier. The third place it shows up is in setting boundaries. You set it, they push slightly, you explained. Now it's negotiable. The fourth place it shows up is in setting a standard. You saw the issue, you softened the feedback. Now the standard drops. 4 situations, same mechanism. The decision was clear, the room arrived, and then you switched. Nothing broke, that's the problem. This is not a loud failure, it's a quiet drift. Slightly lower prices, slightly weaker decisions, slightly weaker standards, slightly longer decisions. Repeated over time, people don't challenge you. They test lightly and define space because the space exists. They are not guessing. They are reading you correctly. Now, the deeper cost is your relationship with your own clarity. You stop trusting your first read. You wait for confirmation, for safety, and clarity becomes something you hesitate to act on. That's the real loss, and awareness alone won't fix it because it lives in behavior, and behavior shows up in moments. That is exactly what the one-on-one work is built for. Not to teach you what to decide, you already know that, but to work with you in the moments the switch happens, where deciding becomes managing, where the clear version gets softened before anyone has done anything. That's where the real shift occurs, not in understanding the pattern, in catching it and holding it, building a new response in the moments that actually matter. If that's the work you're ready for, the first link in the description is where to start from. Just a clear next step for the person who knows the pattern is already running and is ready to do something about it. So now you see it, but seeing isn't enough because this lives in the moment. The first part continues. You adjust earlier, you soften faster. It feels like control, but it's avoidance. And over time, you lose access to the version of you that was clear. The second part is different. You catch the switch, you feel it, and you don't follow it. You say it clearly and you let the room react. Because silence isn't rejection, it's processing. And if you can hold that, everything changes. People stop negotiating, they start following. And over time, you trust your clarity again. Most people won't do this, not because they can't, because it's easier not to. That's the decision, every time. If this landed, if you saw yourself somewhere in this, don't leave it as recognition, because the next moment will come, and that's where it changes or doesn't. If you want support in those moments, real support, the first link in the description is where to start. And if you're not yet subscribed, do so because this is the work we do here. Every week, one pattern seen clearly. I'll see you in the next one.